Hello and good morning, and look at me. What a dummy. Oh, brother, where art thou? Thou art me. Hello, good morning. How are you, everybody? It is so good to be with you. It's me, your friend Deuce. And I am wearing my glasses. I look so silly. And that's okay. We're just doing the best we can with what we have. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. You can call live. You can do whatever you friggin' want. Today's show will be a little bit weird. But what else is new? Oh, I think it's so funny, the glasses that I'm wearing. Oh, the glasses you will go. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you? How do I monitor this? How do I monitor this? Go to live dashboard. Okay. Go to Streamlabs and try again. Are we live anywhere? Hey, we are. We're live on Substack. Hey, everybody. How are you doing? Well, Rev Deuce is having some technical difficulties today. Number one being that he doesn't have his contact lenses. But that's okay. So we're just going to get right into it today. Also, with this app that we're using today, the green screen is terrible. And so we are suffering because of that. But we have a new sponsor on the show. The show is now brought to you by... I don't know. Deuce likes it. Liz said I shouldn't waste my time doing it. I said, I'm gonna. Hey, LPC, how are you today? So, we still can't figure out how to go live on TikTok at the same time. I'm losing the permissions, but I wanted to see all my beautiful friends who are on places like Substack and other places. So, here we are. Here I am looking like a kid who got his glasses hurt on the bus or something, and he has to look weird for the day. So let's start reading the news, and if everybody would be so kind as to jump in the chat. The thing now is that I cannot... And then, Madison, why didn't we see your chat? What happened? Hello? Hello? Okay, well, that's there. So we like that. Oh, I know why. Oh, God. Oh no. Oh, this is terrible. Just do Twitch or something. Okay, we're losing steam. We're losing steam. We're losing steam, everybody. We got to add the chat to Grass Milk so that the chat doesn't disappear. Copy. Grass Milk. Grass Milk is there. All right, Madison, how was Disney World? Are you still there? Now, what's this? This is the screen share and we can't see it. We're doing a great job. We're crushing it so far. We are doing something that the people describe as crushing it. We are really off to a gangbuster start this morning. Let's see. We got Blue Sky. Done. Done. Okay, we got a chat over there. We'll see how it goes. Let's read the news with Deuce, and then in the meantime, of course, you can share your... It was really fun. That's beautiful. It looks like I have one viewer. Ah, we really don't like this Streamlabs setup. We don't know how it works. Excuse me. What is this? View your live stream in a web browser. No. No. What is my stream? Why is it? Oh, gosh. Ooh. All right. Well, let's see. We're losing steam. Hello, Kathy Lynn. All right. Let's give people what they want. They do not want... Ugh, this green screen is terrible here. Okay, anyway, let's look. We're going to start going through the news. If you want to call in, and especially if you're a MAGA person, we would love to talk to you. We did not do as good a job over the weekend. We did hours of work trying to make this better, and none of it worked. None of it paid off. Isn't that exciting? Let's get into the news, everybody. Reading the news with Deuce. Thomas Zimmer says nothing captures the pathologies of mainstream media quite so clearly as the intimate relationship between the New York Times and far-right activist Christopher Rufo, who relies on the New York Times to launder his disingenuous crusades. And he said so himself publicly. Let's go through this thread about Christopher Rufo, okay? They're not just falling for it. That wasn't a plausible explanation in the fall. He's talking about mainstream media. 2020, when Rufo publicly announced he was using critical race theory as a demonizing tool against wokeism. And the nation's opinion leaders all helped him create an anti-CRT frenzy, and it certainly isn't now. Okay? We talk about this all the time. Christopher Rufo and Barry Weiss are very tight. They're intertwined. What they do is they pitch ideas to create the idea of wokeism in our culture. Did you know that, MAGA folks? Okay? Now Rev Deuce is going to drop the hammer. If there's not enough action and engagement here, we're going straight to TikTok Live, and everybody else is going to suffer. So that's a terrible way to build a community. Okay, Rufo has always been completely transparent about the entirely dishonest nature of his reactionary project. That he's been so tremendously successful in poisoning the polity and manufacturing nationwide crusades is a devastating indictment of our culture and media elite. Like, he just tells you about it. This is from over a year ago. Rufo is celebrating. Note how he explicitly pointing to one of the New York Times anti-woke columnists standing in for the mainstream media as a whole as having played a crucial role in his plan, and in the replies, his extremist fans demand more blood. Who's next? Right? Here, check it out. What does he say? Let's get in here. Oops. Why won't this zoom in? I want to zoom in on Yumi. Ugh. All right. So then he goes, launched the Claudine Gay plagiarism story from the right. There's to smuggle it into the media apparatus of the left, legitimizing the narrative to center-left actors who have the power to topple her. Okay? Do you see, like, he's like gloating about what he's done? Do y'all understand that this is how our world works? That they are creating this at all times for all of us. This is Christopher Rufo, who just, remember Harvard? Remember Claudine Gay? They create this for us. Now, what am I going? Which direction am I? Oh my God, that's too much. That's too much, they said to Deuce. Rufo is an opportunistic propagandist and in many ways an emblematic figure on the right. He is incapable of perceiving the college classroom as anything but a liberal indoctrination chamber, because that's exactly what he and his ilk believe education is for. Indoctrination. They want to indoctrinate people reverse. Papa just asked what the definition of woke was. David explained pretty well, but what would I say? Hello, Papa. So everybody who's here, if you're in the Slack, we welcome you today, and we want you to engage. We want you to talk to us about what your sources of information are. We want you to talk to us about, what your thoughts about your media diet are. We want to know your media diet, so you can call in up there and the number up there. But so right now we're talking to Papa, and we're telling Papa, don't preach. No, Papa, keep preaching. We're telling Papa that woke originated as like in black culture in America. People would say stay woke. People would say stay alert. Right? And then there was a phrase about that was called stay woke. Okay? Meaning like, don't be asleep, pay attention. You have to keep your head on a swivel kind of a thing, right? Then what happened is people like this guy, Christopher Rufo, they just started making culture war BS for us, Papa. It's generated for us. And so the definition of woke is a propaganda effort by right-wing billionaires and their apparatchiks like Christopher Rufo to destroy our faith in each other, to undermine trust in institutions, and to forward the narratives of the right-wing billionaires who own these think tanks, who fund these think tanks out the wazoo. Okay, there's hundreds of right-wing think tanks in this country, nothing equivalent to it on the left. When we talk about what's the left in this country, when we talk about what's equivalent to it on the center, and there's also nothing really equivalent to it on the center. So that's what woke is. Woke is a disinformation and propaganda campaign by people like Ron DeSantis, right, who's operating on behalf of his political donors, by people like Christopher Rufo, who's operating on behalf of his political donors, by Barry Weiss, right? We'll just remind everyone because it's worth reminding everyone every single time we're online. Hey, Janet Vassell. Hey, Janet Vassell. Hey, Janet Vassell. How you doing today? So we will go here. I swear I'm almost done with the Barry Weiss one, but Papa, stick with me here. Okay? This is what they do. And this is how the news should report in the public interest. It should tell us about these disinformation campaigns and these propaganda campaigns. Weiss had already been, this is from reporting by Emma Green in the New Yorker. So billionaires like Harlan Crow, who you know is destroying our Supreme Court, right? They donate like $500,000 to stuff like this. He's also helped her create her bullshit university. Anyway, Christopher Rufo and Barry Weiss are pals, right? Weiss and the other founders recruited an informal board of advisors. Among them were the media personality Megyn Kelly, the writer Andrew Sullivan, and the anti-critical race theory activist Christopher Rufo. Megyn Kelly's podcast is now owned by Rupert Murdoch, okay? It's all networked together. But so Weiss had already been talking with friends of hers about creating a new anti-woke organization. Her friends had workshopped a pitch to the Manhattan Institute, a conservative think tank, for a project to create a modern-day Death Star to wage ideological warfare on the enemies of modernity. Their plan involved writing coordinated op-eds and promoting anti-woke content. Now, I do not know why the New Yorker, they always do this umlaut. I don't understand that. Anyway, the stats on this thing stink. I do not like this program we are using today. But I love you and I'm grateful for you. If you're in the chat on Substack, what do you have to say to me? We are reading the news with Deuce, and we are kicking it off by pointing out for everyone the disinformation and propaganda world that is existing at all times on the right and is working on the brains of our fellow Americans. Hey, MJ, maybe today we just do an hour in here. And then we go to TikTok Live. And then Deuce has to do some work. Rufo offers a bizarre distortion of the world. He wants us to believe radical leftism is so ubiquitous, so dangerous, that nothing but an equally radical counter-revolution to seize control of the state and all major institutions will do to save the United States. There is a certainty, an element of self-aggrandizement here pervasive among a younger cohort of far-right pseudo-intellectuals who want to present themselves as trailblazing leaders of the right-wing counter-revolution by coming out with particularly daring statements and demands. Everything starts from the same basic premise. Quote unquote, woke leftists dominate almost all spheres of life in the United States, enabling them to impose their radical ideology on the country. It is therefore high time for real America to recapture the country by whatever means. A while ago, Thomas Zimmer wrote about Rufo as a figure emblematic of the authoritarian aspiration, counter-revolutionary zeal. Oh, this is great. Right-wing dreams of American Reconquista. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's right. Well, he's right. Thomas Zimmer is right, and we're going to take that amazing thread. We're going to drop it into the... Oh, well, everything's broken. Oh, no. We're going to drop it in there. Now, if you're in the Substack chat, can you get active, baby? We want you to be active. We want you to be talking to Deuce. We want you to call into the friggin' show. You know what I mean? So we're going to drop that incredible thread from Thomas Zimmer in there. And we're going to file that away later because that is important stuff. That is weird, wild stuff. Do you remember, Papa, did you used to watch Johnny Carson? Weird, wild stuff. That is weird, wild stuff. Now, yeah, I'll tell you what, Streamlabs stinks. Where are the docs? I need to see all the docs, and they're not giving them to me. Shalom, Grayson. Shalom. Shalom. Look how bad the green screen is when you convert your OBS to Streamlabs. Okay, David Slack, founder of Slack. I says Slack to the future. That's kind of funny. Okay, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is a commentary on this wild story about it's Christian nationalism. Okay, can we just get down to brass tacks? It's Christian nationalism. You know what I'm saying? The Trump administration has ordered State Department employees to report on any instances of coworkers displaying anti-Christian bias as part of its effort to implement a sweeping new order on supporting employees of Christian faith. This is privileging one religion over the others. Okay. The scariest part of this is that there are millions of Americans out there who believe America is a Christian nation. Sorry, Papa, if that is you, but it is not a Christian nation. You could talk about the First Amendment and they'd say, just to say it louder, America is a Christian nation. Sure, Grayson, absolutely. So another thing we do is we like to follow the energy that is in the tub. So Grayson wants to hear about what's going on with Josh Shapiro and his house being burnt down. Oh, I have something on that, Grayson. I have some perspective on that. So let's get into that perspective that I found on that, which is, check this out. So there has been a concerted, right? So he was in the house. The house was arsoned by someone who I think accessed the home. There are pictures of the arson, and it's pretty scary. I mean, it's the kind of thing that would show up in a history book. This picture right here.
This morning, a man is charged.
Look at that picture behind them.
At the Pennsylvania
that must be like the foyer.
Governor Shapiro and his family slept inside. Pennsylvania State Police said that Shapiro and his family were evacuated around 2 o'clock Sunday after the home was set on fire. No one was injured, but as you can see, the fire caused significant damage to the home.
We do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay.
Joining me now, CNN's Gene Casares. Wow, this is, Josh Shapiro. They were sleeping in the home. They had just celebrated Passover, and someone set their home on fire. What can you tell us?
Well, we've got the criminal complaint now, and in fact, we have got a lot of information. First of all, the charges. The top charge is attempted homicide. Wow. That this person tried to kill people inside with these homemade incendiary devices. Next, aggravated arson. We also have burglary of a home, and then we have, as the fifth count, terrorism. Cody Balmer is the name of the suspect who has been arrested. He actually had a friend of his, a female, call police to tell them he wanted to turn himself in. He turned himself in. He was given his Miranda rights, but he started to talk. Here's what we know. He said that he walked about a mile to get to the house, and that's when he he jumped the fence, threw the first incendiary device into a room.
I'm going to give you some perspective on this in just 1 second.
And then it took off. And then he went to the second window he saw and threw a second incendiary device in. That would be the dining room. It took off. He said it was Heineken beer bottles that he had put gasoline in. He jumped through the second window. He was actually in the mansion at that point, and then finished his business and left. He was asked by police, did you believe that somebody was going to be asleep in the house at that time? He said, yeah, I knew that was a possibility. That's important.
Yep.
State of mind, that goes to intent to want to kill who was ever in that home. He said he hated the governor. Now, motive is not in this description right here. He may have told them more, but they don't need motive. They need the elements. But here is what the governor had to say the family was doing the night before.
Hear me.
All right, so if they're not going to talk about motive, I'm going to talk about motive. So check this out, everybody. So far-right figures help spread baseless Josh Shapiro Trump assassination conspiracy. Now, I would not be surprised. I'm not going to be conspiratorial here. I'm not going to say something crazy is going on, but I would not be surprised if we get through this and we learn more about this person, right? And how much will we learn about this person, and how much will this stay in the news cycle, right? You can imagine if an Antifa person, okay, let's just do the work here. If an Antifa person had firebombed, Governor Abbott of Texas's home while he was in it, it would join, like George Floyd as the hey, not Milky, thank you for following. It would join George Floyd as, like something that the right talked about all the time, right? The right-wing propaganda machine would start to fill our fellow Americans' brains with like, yeah, but like the worst thing that's ever happened is Governor Abbott's house being firebombed, right? So we'll see how long this story lasts, right? We have a bizarre, warped system for informing the public that carries all of the right-wing outrage and machine into our... Is this the Soylent sponsored stream? Actually, not Milky. This is incredible. Are you a plant? Did someone send you here? Because this program is actually brought to you... So thank you for being here. I made that last night, and my fiance was so... She was like, what are you doing? That's a huge waste of your time. And I was like, grass milk is a hilarious thing to sponsor the show, and I need to make some audio behind that so that it's really good and high quality. But grass milk soar. But so let's look into this. Far-right figures help spread baseless Josh Shapiro Trump assassination conspiracy. So, this guy hates the governor so much. Obviously there's tons of hate being spread by the propaganda ecosystem. But so, not Milky, I want to hear from you about how amazing it was that I had a milk-based sponsor ready to go. I know Soylent is people. It's not, anyway. So far right. Okay. So this is from just a month ago or 2 months ago. Okay. And so social media users and far-right figures online have spread baseless conspiracy theory from a supposed whistleblower claiming that Democratic Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro was involved in the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Even though prosecutors previously dismissed the alleged whistleblower's claims and have said her claims were not credible and read more like a novel, far-right figures have claimed the conspiracy theory is probably a pretty good theory, a credible accusation, and meant Shapiro was going to prison. Okay, so this is what happens, is these things are spread, and now we have an FBI that is going to be looking less into what the FBI has been saying for years, is that domestic white supremacist right-wing terrorism is one of the biggest threats in this country. Now, under Kash Patel, we are going to have less monitoring of that happening, right? Because it's going to be framed as like freedom and like a surveillance thing, but we actually want our government to surveil hardcore extremists of all political stripes, right? I don't want some, political extremist leftist or something like blowing up a building or doing something like that. And so we have to push back on all of this, and it's coming from the right. The disinformation and propaganda is coming from the right. So the complaint reportedly filed on February 7th details unfounded assertions that Shapiro conspired with other officials to orchestrate the attack as part of a political scheme, and mirrors a similar complaint the supposed whistleblower filed in July. Okay, so who's pushing this? The Daily Dot. This woman is named Hadassah Feinberg. Last July, Feinberg filed a similar complaint that the local district attorney tossed, citing the myriad investigations into the assassination attempt that were already happening. Okay, so the district attorney rejects this conspiracy theory that Josh Shapiro would be involved. Okay. Okay, so there's a white nationalist, Stu Peters. Okay, a lot of this stuff takes place on Rumble. All right. Pastor Greg Locke. Okay, he's saying Shapiro's going to prison for a long time. And people believe these people, you know what I mean? Because that's what's been created for them, is this idea that you cannot trust mainstream commercial journalism. You cannot trust nonprofit independent journalism reporting in the public interest. You cannot trust fact-based areas and sources of information. You can only trust these people, like InfoWars hosts. Social media, Peters claimed the allegation meant that the plot to assassinate Trump was Jewish. What the hell? That's on Rumble and Twitter, okay? Not being taken down from Twitter in these days. Self-described prophet Amanda Grace. We don't even know who some of these people are, because this is like, you know, this is deep stuff, but then it gets spread everywhere else. So let's go on social media right now and let's look. What is dumpster fire? What is that? Now, let's take a gander, okay? Let's take a proper gander. You know what I mean? What are we going to type in? Oh, we're going to go to like Instagram. I mean, Instagram, are they taking stuff like this down? Let's see. Let's put in Shapiro Trump. What do we get? Does that give us like reels or what? No, this is a trumpet. That's a trumpet playing person. Search. Let's see. Shapiro Trump. I don't know. Why won't it show me more stuff? Yeah, that was literally a trumpet. Why won't it show me more stuff? If you're in here on the Substack, please give us a call. We want to hear from you. I don't know why I didn't miss. The call didn't come through, Papa. So I don't know what happened with that. So how do we find this? Let's see. Let's go to Google. And then at Google, we'll go, you can see how much soccer I like. Okay, so Google, let's see. Shapiro, Trump, Instagram. We got a bit. All right, well, we got, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm just loving life. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Let's put let's just do something real quick here. Hey, Papa, so I'm going to start off. I'm going to say, I got your back. Can you say I got your back to me?
Sure, I got your back.
Heck yeah. Now, Papa, let's put like a 7-minute timer. Set a timer for 7 minutes. Okay. Let's do it. What do you want to talk about, Papa?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you mentioned something about the formation of our country and whether it was a Christian, Judeo-Christian nation or not a Judeo-Christian nation. I think we as a group pretty much escaped Europe because of the religious persecution. I think that was one of the main embodiments of our of the talks of the early rebels, was that we can't control people's religion. We must not control people's religion. That's their own personal preference to God. Now, it was heavily influenced by the Freemasons, the formation of our Constitution and the formation of our early government. And I believe that I personally am a Christian. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, but I believe in this country, we have freedom of religion. You can be anything you want to be, so long as it's within the confines of the law and the civil laws.
Yeah, you are correct, Papa. And so, Papa, what do you make of this new? What do you make of this new the State Department missive about, like, you know, defending Christians in the State Department and having fellow employees report anti-Christian hate? Which, I mean, what does that even mean? You know, within the State Department.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. It just appears to me that we have a regime now that just simply wants to take over and be in control of everything, so they're weeding out naturally any dissidents to that. You've been pretty obvious throughout Trump's history. If you don't agree with him, you're fired. He will. Yeah, I mean, from
I wish that show had never existed.
His very first attorney general was telling him that what he wanted to do was illegal, and so really, yeah, well, you're fired, and he just hired one that said it's not. So they appear to me to be a very fascist type organization, where they are just ruling by fear and intimidation. And I hate to echo things that other people have already said, but yes, it's much like the rise of the Reich, and it's, to me, frankly, quite scary. Because when they're coming out from street corners with masks on, grabbing people and asking for their papers, or, you know, it's pretty much reminiscent of the early 1930s, and it's I think a terrible thing happening in our country right now.
Absolutely, Papa. I agree. And so, Papa, like, when were you born, if you don't mind me asking?
1948, right when my dad came home from the from the war.
Yeah. So
loving on my mama.
Okay.
As was everybody.
What theater?
That's why they call us the boomers, buddy. There's a bunch of us born right after that.
Absolutely, and we're grateful for you, and we're grateful that your father survived, and so that you could be here and you could make the beautiful family that you have. And so, Papa, what theater was your father in?
Well, he was in the Navy.
Okay.
He was in the North Atlantic, and he was in the South Pacific, and he served on every type of ship that the United States Navy had at the time. And he told me that his favorite ship was a destroyer.
Okay.
Simply because it was large enough to really be a warship, and small enough that you could know everyone in the crew and knew who you could depend on and who you couldn't. He said the worst ship he ever rode on was a carrier. And he said because it's like being in a city.
Yeah, it's like being on a cruise ship.
There's cliques, there's gangs, there's all kinds of things. It's just it's hard to control a mass like that, and they're all confined in a very confined area.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said it was not a pleasant experience on a carrier.
You know, and when we talk about you know, the parallels that we all see, right? And then the right-wing propaganda machine fills our fellow Americans with the idea that, like, it's insane to bring that up. And you have Trump derangement syndrome if you are a student of history, or have lived through history, or had a parent who lived through history and told you what was going on. You know, I've found myself recently, for whatever reason, I've been watching these color videos, these color films of the end of World War II. And I was watching, we're about to get kind of serious here. I was watching this thing just the other day, which was like near Dachau or Buchenwald, there's a town. And they took like 1,000 people, 1,000 Germans from that town once the concentration camp nearby had been liberated, one of the biggest ones, maybe Buchenwald. And so they took like 1,000 of the locals. They took all the locals who had survived, who were living in the town nearby, and they brought them to the concentration camp to show them, right? Like, these are people who had been living just right next door. But if you don't see something often with your eyes and ears, propaganda has so much power to make you believe, anything. And so these people who had lived so close to a concentration camp for years while horrific things were being done to these people who were there, and they were dying and they were being malnutritioned, and they were working in a labor camp inside a mountain to build, munitions for the Germans, right? They had to bring the local Germans there, because if they didn't show them, and it was horrible, they were walking past stacked up bodies of emaciated figures who had passed away. And if you don't show, if they had never seen that, they probably would have gone to their graves believing that could never have happened. Just as we have so many Americans today who have been suffering from a similar campaign of distrust, of mistrust, right? The second Donald Trump got into office in 2016, and even before that, since the 1980s and 90s with Barbara Walters, you can see him casting doubt on the media, right? Using the tactics that the mustache man, I don't know which platform I can say things on, but that he used, the lying press. It was called the Lügenpresse. That's what the mustache man said, and Donald Trump immediately came up with the lying press, the fake news. Journalists are the enemy of the people. And when we start to see that kind of language, we do indeed start to recognize those parallels. And so, yes, we believe and we understand, because we are plugged into a fact-based, contextualized source and stream of information like you and me, Papa. We understand that this Christian nationalism is not how our American country was founded, right? It was founded by people who may have had a religion and who may have spoke in a religious manner about certain topics, because, yes, of course, like most people were religious, they were different kinds of religions, however, at the time, right? And they believed that we had freedom to practice religion and freedom from religion. And that is being eroded every single day in this country. Yes, Ann. Well, Papa, is there anything else that you want to share with me?
Well, I don't know how. Am I still on the clock here?
Well, the clock ended, and we love you, but we just also want to get onto some other stuff today. But you can always call back any other time. But is there any other point you want to make about this rise of Christian nationalism? You had mentioned a previous Donald Trump attorney general. Bill Barr is a member of Opus Dei and also a member of the Council for National Policy, which is a hyper-Christian, like, secretive organization behind the scenes. Charlie Kirk is a part of it. Mike Pompeo is a part of it, right? Mark Meadows is a part of it. Betsy DeVos is a part of it. Steve Bannon is a fellow at the Council for National Policy. And so there's these hyper-Christian organizations working behind the scenes to destroy the separation of church and state.
Yeah. It's well, I hear a lot of people saying we need to start, because when I was a child, we read the Bible every day at school, the Judeo-Christian Bible, every morning in our class.
That was a public school?
To the front of the class and pick out,
As a public school?
Yes, as a public school, yes.
Uh-huh.
And that was our homeroom class. You would go there, report in the school, you would read the Bible, and usually you would just rotate throughout the class. Every day someone would come up and read the 23rd Psalm or something, to the class, and we would all take off when the bell rang and go about our day. But and people say, oh, well, we need to start reading the Bible in school again, and I in my heart I say, yeah, I'd love to have it read in school every day. But what if the powers to be happen to be Muslims at the time, which is happening in many of our, not many, but a few of our northern states are being overtaken by the Muslims? Well, if you're a Christian, do you really want them to start reading from the Quran to your child every day? That, I don't know if what's right or wrong. We're going to read every Bible there is, so that everybody has a chance to.
Yeah. Are you gonna read the 6 tenets of the Megachurch of Joy? You know what I mean?
There you go.
We're going to shove the
There you
Mega
go.
Church of Joy down everybody's
You know.
throats? No, we're going to allow them to do so if they are interested. And I do hear that
Right.
many of the northern states are being overcome by Rev Deuce and his program of love and support in the Mega Church of Joy. That's just something I'm hearing. You know what I mean, Papa?
Okay.
Well, Papa, we
Well,
love your
but
perspective
anyway,
and we're
yeah.
grateful for it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that there's a voice out there that's actually saying, "Hey, we need to really look around, people."
Yeah, we
the
do need to
American
look
people
around.
have a history of non-participation. They just think everything's hunky-dory and go about their business, and the very small percentage of our population is actually making decisions, and we really need to put, light a little fire under some of these big talkers that aren't even going to the polls.
Exactly. 90 million people did not vote in the last federal presidential election. And that is just too few of people,
90 million. That could be a whole nother party.
That could be a whole nother party, right? But civic engagement, heck yeah, Papa. We love the idea of civic engagement. We can't believe how few people. Look, Rev Deuce lives here in New York City. He's got some friends who are very civically engaged. He's got a bunch more friends who just are not at all. And so we just have to find the people who are thinking, I've been wondering where all that civic engagement is, and we have to be the catalyst, right? So we have to go to those protests. Whether we agree with every single thing at a protest or not does not matter. Oftentimes there's someone at a protest chanting something that I don't believe in at all or whatever, but we are there because we are practicing democracy, and we are there because we are in dire straits as a country. There is extreme fascism at our door, and there is extremism that's been, something so sacred as elections have been being lied about by the president and his sycophants for years. And that's absurd, and we can't have that. So the time to have been in the streets peacefully protesting is long past. And so we are continuing to do it. We will continue to do it until such a time as our mainstream commercialized media will start to cover it in a way that honors the commitment to being out there and showing Americans that this is a big deal that it warrants. You know what I mean?
Yes, indeed.
All right, Papa, we're going to say goodbye to you for today, and we look forward to you calling in any other time that the energy so compels you. Yes, Ann.
All right. God bless you. You take care then.
All right. God bless you too. Bye-bye. We love Papa, and we love Papa sitting there on that porch. Porch Chapter is working on getting more into our flock. Oh, yeah, we love that. We'd love to hear that, David. Well, what I did is, you can't see it. Hey, I like chips. Seeing how some Americans talk about fascism is funny to me as a European. Well, I like chips. What would you like to say about that? Because we would love to hear what you have to say about that. You are watching the Mega Church of Joy, which is a religion that was founded in 2014 by me, based on the tenets of quality improvisational comedy, energy, support, commitment, giving, connection, and gratitude. And then I realized, so fear is our God. Fear is what's in control of the actions we take in our lives. And so we work on a relationship with fear, and we follow fear towards joy. Because when we recognize that fear is nothing more than a giant dickhead, we can lessen his power over us, and we can actually find a way to sympathize with our fear, to listen to our fears, to embrace our fears and move on from them. You know what I mean? And so we also understand that a program of fear is being directed into the brains and dome pieces, as it were, of our fellow Americans and citizens at all times. So I like chips. We love to hear people's ideas. And we also love it when people laugh when they say that they like chips. So your name is I Like Chips, LOL, and we love that. It's like, I like chips. You're like almost like a character in a cartoon where you're like a villain who likes chips and you laugh, even though there's nothing wrong with liking chips or villainous about liking chips. We really like hell of a good dip, which you may not have over there in Europe, wherever you are. But so tell us what fascism is, because we'd love to understand it. And we understand that there is not necessarily full-blown. My name might be a bit ironic in these contexts. I like chips. Oh, also that means you like French fries. I forgot. So I assume that you are British and you like French fries, and we love French fries. Oh, man, we love that. Okay, so keep talking in the chat. I like chips. And if there's a way for you to call this Google Voice number from overseas without me being charged 10 cents a second. I would love to talk to you live. Let's keep going through the news with Deuce. We talked a little bit about there could be some, recent developments in the MAGA world about Josh Shapiro that may have caused him to be targeted. The governor, for you, I like chips, the governor of one of our 50 states, his home was set on fire. Now, that is one of the biggest deals possible. Well, French fries are the best thing ever. So everyone loves chips. I like chips, likes chips. I like chips, and you like chips. So everyone loves chips. We want to remind everybody that they are at all times participating in an information war. Okay, I like chips. I love this. So I like chips. What you have these days is an information war being waged upon all of our brains at all times. And then there's also just human beings who are exposing themselves to information and different diversity of thought and ideologies and that kind of a thing. So you got told by a streamer on Twitch that male and female is a Western invention. Okay. And that got created because of colonization. I don't really have much to say about that. I think that the fact that we're talking about male and female and gender and colonization as much as we are is a result of the information war. And so what's happened is there has been a concerted effort by people like Vladimir Putin for the last at least decade and a half, and foreign nations, as we are all working in an information revolution, which is the internet, right on par. And we're so grateful for everyone coming in on the Substack, and we want you to chat as well. But so we're in the middle of an information revolution. And so foreign adversaries, authoritarians, and disinformers have taken advantage of that. And they realize that the ability to manipulate the means of communication has become democratized in the sense that it used to be harder for Russia to plant disinformation and propaganda into the American mainstream, right? They would have to have done it like using someone who was writing op-eds for the New York Times, and they had to get past the gatekeepers of the New York Times, if you will understand me on this kind of point. And so what's happening nowadays is that we have the ability for foreign adversaries to just pretend that they are regular Americans and appear in our social media feeds and create media companies or create, branded memes and, called like, Progressive Today or, MAGA Patriot #1, and they fill our world with talking points and things that get us talking about things that are much less important than the reality of poverty, the reality of, gun death, the reality of, healthcare, those kinds of things, right? My political orientation, I like chips, is towards democracy and facts. That is all that I care about. My personal ideology, to me, it pales in comparison to the reality that millions and millions of people are hooked on propaganda streams that are being purpose-built for them so that trust in society is destroyed. And, trust in institutions. And I'm not saying we need to have overweening trust in those things, but we should have some sort of trust as a society because democracy does not work without trust. And so there is a concentrated effort. Donald Trump says the journalists are the enemy of the people. You know what I mean? Like we just talked about with Papa. And so that's what we talk about here. That's what we push back. So we're fact warriors here, actually. I like chips. And so what we do is we say that every single time you're online, you need to be spreading fact-based information that aligns with small d democratic values. So that's what we do here. And so we're going to keep reading the news with Deuce. This is a note I took, and it says, it's a simple function of evolutionary biology. Who doesn't? I like chips. Agreed. And a purpose-built propaganda information ecosystem combined with a revolution in information technology on par with the printing press in its impact. Well, that's a succinct thing that I wrote the other day, and I'm proud of myself because it's fun to be proud of yourself. Isn't it? Are you proud of yourselves today out there? And are you feeling like you're not enough? I would love to talk to you about if you're feeling inadequate or anything, because that means no democracy. Yeah, absolutely. I like chips. You get it. Okay, so this is just a commentary from Rebecca Solnit. Well, what am I then? Am I an extremist? I don't think I'm an extremist. I like chips, but I love you and I welcome your opinion. So Rebecca Solnit says, I suspect she saw her job as maintaining good relationships with Greenland and Denmark, who are the hosts of this military base, which put her at odds with Vance, who's a bore and would-be invader dismissing sovereignty issues. So this is just about how Colonel Susanna Myers was fired this week as commander of the space base in Greenland after making comments at odds with the White House's political approach to the Arctic island. Obviously, the United States, under the leadership of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, is behaving in a way that they claimed not to want to behave in, right? Which is to be an aggressor on the global stage. They were going to end all wars and all this stuff. And meanwhile, they immediately started bombing, the Yemenis and the Houthis and whatnot. And they are agitating for war and conflict in many other areas, threatening, our neighbor to the north. We're so grateful to hear that David has placed in the chat. He's proud of himself. He does what he does feel inadequate, but it is his fear and he embraces it. Yes, and that's what we do here. We also talk about our fears. So if you would like to join live and talk about your fear, we would love to talk about that with you. The program is a little wonky today, but we are having a great time. We're reading the news with Deuce, as they say, and there's other things that we could do. And we thought we would be back on TikTok Live today, but we are not. How are you a fact warrior today? How will you spread fact-based information that aligns with small d democratic values every single time you're online? Because if you're not doing that, you should get offline, because it's dumb to be online just absorbing and participating in the information war. You should, to just be letting it happen. That's what I mean. So at all times, we're in an information war. Our media diets are terrible. We are sucking down the sweet, pacifying juice of information. And so at all times, we need to be sharing information and being fact warriors in this world. And we're so grateful for all of you who know that and understand that. Okay, so, she says more, Rebecca Solnit. So Myers, as long as I'm lucky enough to lead the space, all of our flags will fly proudly together. She wasn't sufficiently arrogant or imperial for the Trump program, according to our commentator, Rebecca Solnit, Guardian, the U.S. The U.S. website military.com said Myers sent an email to all personnel seemingly aimed at generating unity among the airmen and guardians as well as the Canadians, Danes, and Greenlanders. How dare she? She was loyal to her mission and what serves this country best, which is, of course, at odds with the grotesque threat to Greenland and Denmark's sovereignty. For sure. So, of course, a MAGA person would be like, yeah, well, she didn't, the chain of command, she's not following it. No, of course. But sometimes when it gets to dire straits like we're having here, where the government is doing stuff that we don't really like, you kind of want to cheer for people who ignore that chain of command. That's what I would say. Because what's going to happen when they start ordering people to shoot American protesters in the streets? Do we honor that chain of command? I don't know. I would say no. But how do you feel about that in the chat, especially on Substack? And we will get this all figured out. And we will start streaming to all the places, and we'll catch some MAGA folks and we'll talk to them, and it'll be quite glorious. So I've been disappeared because a rainforest killing plagiarism machine picked me out of a hat, coming to a dystopia near you. Speaking of what I Like Chips is talking about in the chat. So hours ago, Politico revealed that Doge is working with DHS on automating mass deportation efforts, likely explaining why so many U.S. citizens, green card holders, and even a Canadian in Canada got threatening emails last night terminating your parole and telling them to leave the U.S. in 7 days. So this is just to highlight how, oops, you can't see this. So yeah, I Like Chips. What I would say is that we don't really have a functioning communist party in any way. I don't think, like in most countries, not your country, not the United States. And so there is one party that is much closer to this idea of fascism, and that is in power and has been lying about elections and all manner of things, right? And ending due process in this country, which is a cherished right. So yeah, I think we can agree that one party is real and now and happening and extreme. So the people were getting this. This is a real thing that happened. People were getting messages about their parole being ended within the 7 days, and that they needed to leave the U.S. in 7 days. This was being sent to American citizens. So Doge is not efficient. We're going to put this in the Discord as well. So if you want to get in our Discord, send a message. And if you want to chat in Substack, we want to talk to you about the news. We want to talk to you about your sources of information. We want to talk to you about the information ecosystem. And if you are a fact warrior who every single day of your life is fighting back, what do we have here? This is wild. Look at these folks. I mean, they are human beings doing the best they can with what they have. But watch it. Watch this, everybody. This is like dear leader stuff. You know what I mean? So what's happening is legitimate news organizations are being kicked out, and they're being let back in, but kicked out of the White House press briefing room. And this Trump administration is adding, I don't know, like this young person over here, right? Like this hair choice. I mean, it's like they're kind of out of some villainous movie. I just got to say it. But so look at this team, and they like are standing there kind of like doing propaganda. It's really wild.
I'm sure everybody in this room could agree. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy, and is he eating less McDonald's?
I can confirm the president is in very good shape, as you see, on a near daily basis here. And in that vein, thank God it's Friday. It's been a very long and busy week here at the White House. We will see you all on Monday, and we will release the results of that report as soon as we can. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Consider releasing the president's fitness plan. He actually looks healthier than ever before. Healthier than he did 8 years ago, and I'm sure everybody in this room could agree. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy, and is he eating less McDonald's?
I mean, are you kidding my friggin' daddy right now, okay? This is like, let's create a propaganda network, and then let's invite those people into the White House briefing room, just like we saw when that guy asked Zelensky about the suit. Yes, Grayson, incredible. Grayson, I was just going to bring that up. Right? Now look at these folks. Oh, man, I froze it. It's just such a... Wait, I got to screenshot this. This is Dystopia Plus right here. This is like North Korea shit. Look at how happy everybody is. Oh, my God. And then the stock market is tanking. First of all, we just want to honor the Substack chat. GS for now says, this is amazing. So GS, we want you to get onto the Public Enlightenment Program, the Megachurch of Joy, where we are fact warriors. And every single time we were online, we push back on the hate and division. We push back on the fear-based program of the propagandists who want us to walk patterns of shame, of guilt, of doubt, judgment, hate, cynicism, especially cynicism, and division. You know what I mean? And so we push back on that, but we tell everybody to be fact warriors. And so we go through the news, we read the news, we have people join live and talk about their sources of news. You know what I mean? And so we're so grateful for everyone here. And yes, these people are yucking it up about a man who's being lied about. He's 6'4", 225. I saw someone did a series of like college athletes who are also 6'4" and 225. And they looked a lot different than Donald Trump, I'll tell you that much. Hey, mounted soundtracking, cheap viewers on Stream Boo, whatever the heck that is, get out of here. We don't need you there. Okay. So this is insane, and this is propaganda, and so we'll store that away for the next time we end up talking to a MAGA person who we love, and we know that people are doing the best they can with what they have. How do I subscribe on Twitch? What do you mean, to what we're doing here? I don't know. Grayson, I don't know. I need to figure all that out. And if you could figure it out, I would love that, because yeah, like even with this Streamlabs thing I'm using, there's like some tipping option. But you know what? I did build something for all of you to give me money. So if you find examples of someone on social media saying stuff about Josh Shapiro, I would be so grateful, like saying that he was involved in the assassination of Donald Trump. I would love to hear about that, because that would be some of the type of disinformation that's flying around, and that maybe is the cause of this attack on the governor of one of the 50 United States. So did I add the Cash App? I didn't even add it yet. But let me tell you what, I didn't even put it on the screen, but you can Cash App me at Follow the Fear. And you can Venmo me at Follow the Fear. Yay, give me your money. But I didn't even add it yet today, because that's how bad I am at grifting. Okay, let's go through the news with Deuce. You want to keep going through the news with Deuce? Or we could sing a song. Let's get to this main screen. We could sing a song. We want MAGA folks to join, and we want to talk about who's telling them to cheer and what their sources of information are. And we want to debunk some disinformation campaigns. Let's do that right now. Let's debunk some disinformation. Is there some disinformation floating around that you all know about? So you can Cash App me at Follow the Fear, and you can Venmo me at Follow the Fear. Give me your money, please. Okay, now let's see. What were we gonna do? We were gonna go to Instagram. I think we did the debunk of. Well, here's a fact check right here. So let's just watch it. Why is it so big and weird?
It causes IQ loss, profound IQ loss.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s claim is misleading. Kennedy overstates the strength of the evidence linking fluoride to IQ loss. Some studies have indicated that exposure to fluoride may be associated with reduced IQ in children, but it's unclear whether the fluoride caused the reduced IQ scores, and if so, what level of fluoride exposure might have a detrimental effect. Most of those studies that have found an association have been in populations exposed to high levels of fluoride that are above the levels recommended in the US. Many scientific experts say the evidence for an association is weak. Water fluoridation improves dental health, particularly for children without good dental care. Get the full story at factcheck.org.
The evidence.
Okay, well, that's it. We need to be consulting fact checkers at all times in this world. Let's go and look at some saved stuff. Been coming across. Now, look at this. Okay, let's debunk some stuff here. I mean, I can't believe this is still a thing that's going on, but look at this. This guy used to be a famous comedian. He was on Saturday Night Live.
DeSantis.
Wait, hold on.
Today, when I got up in St. Petersburg, it was clear blue sky, and I started watching all the planes spraying.
I can't believe this.
Now, I know the FAA knows who's flying. I'm pretty sure the government can figure out who's flying and spraying and creating these fake clouds in the sky. Look. I even got footage of that plane spraying. So, Governor of Florida and Florida officials, what are we doing about this? And why don't you start explaining exactly what it is? Clear blue sky. Look at all the lines from the planes. I watched them all, and some of them stop spraying after a while, and they restart. Can we have an explanation?
Okay, so that is a famous person who is using their platform to spread, and I feel empathy for this person. I think they really believe this, but it is so upsetting because they have been stewing in conspiracism. But we want to have empathy. But we also need people who have a platform of power who are spreading conspiracy that ultimately contributes to the overall program of destroying trust. We need them to get off of the stage of power and influence. Okay? DanWrights.com peed next to Jim Brewer at the Buffalo airport. Okay, but we are in the midst, and we're so grateful to have you here, Danny boy. And so, well, we could need Jesus. We could also need Deuce. You know, I'm going to put my hat in the ring. But so let's check in on Jim Brewer and this. So chemtrail. I'm sorry, that's rude. Chemtrail fact check. Okay. So let's fact check Jim Brewer right now. And I'm going to write this one down because I'm going to spend some time today. I've got a new series I'm going to do for videos. It's going to be called Deuce Debunks. Jim Brewer, because we got to push back. And now what did David ask? He said, what did David say? How do we think humanity breaks free from this cycle? So again, we are in the midst of a technical revolution, an information revolution on par with the printing press. The printing press caused hundreds of years of unrest in Europe and across the world. We are in the first 20 years of social media functioning the way it does and upending our understanding of the world. So we need media literacy. That's literally it. That's the answer. I created a religion based upon it. You know what I mean? That's what's going on. Everyone's brains are being cooked by people with power who have trained themselves in how to disinform and manipulate. And so we are pushing back against that every time. And that's why you're here all the time, because you understand that, David. And you're beautiful. Okay, so let's see. Chemtrails. Okay, fact check. Chemtrails aren't real. Let's find one that we don't really enjoy. We don't really enjoy USA Today. So what is AFP? PolitiFact. Okay, great. We'll go to PolitiFact, which sometimes we don't always enjoy, but we know Poynter Institute is a fact-based organization, and they have some incredible media literacy programs online that we could all take. Okay, so chemtrails are being put into the atmosphere and are trickling down into soil and water, becoming the real cause of disease. Okay, so April 21st, 2023. So 2 years ago, I bet Jim Brewer is reading this kind of thing all the time. Hey, GS for Now totally gets it. GS for Now in the Substack is saying, let me pull this right in front of my dome piece, saying, I'll chip in if you could sometime soon. Write up how you'd like us to send you money. You're definitely doing a great job. I especially appreciate the genuine humanity you manifest as you work. Way to go. I mean, this person gets it and we love you. And so we would love for you to call in, GS, if you would like to talk about your sources of information. But so you can subscribe on Substack. I will start to monetize the Substack soon. I don't know. Probably the best thing is to just give me money straight up. So you could go to Cash App, Follow the Fear, and you could go to Venmo, Follow the Fear, and eventually I'll put that on the screen. So thank you so much, GS. That is the beginnings of me understanding if this can work or not. And then we have a Discord, and we'll make that subscription-based at some point. But, you can get in early, and you can be grandfathered in. Right, Papa? So chemtrails are being put in the atmosphere and are trickling down into the soil. Chemtrails are not causing diseases. They're not real. If your time is short, atmospheric chemists and geochemists dispute the existence of chemtrails. Contrails are line-shaped clouds produced by aircraft engine exhaust, according to experts. They do not pose health risks to humans. Now, I wonder what a, very, very diluted, and I'm sorry to use that word, but conspiracy theorist would say in response to this. Conspiracy about cloud formations in the sky does not seem like it's fading into the night anytime soon, even after 2 decades. On April 21st, Facebook reel showing intersecting lines in the clouds. This is not contrails that are coming off of the back of an engine or back of a plane, says the narrator. These are chemtrails, barium, strontium, aluminum, all kinds of pollutants that they're putting into our atmosphere, which comes down, trickles down, gets into our soil, gets into our water. The narrator said this is poisoning, the real cause of disease. The post was flagged as part of Facebook's efforts to combat false news and misinformation on its newsfeed. Are they still even doing that anymore? Because obviously Mark Zuckerberg is committed to the right-wing disinformation propaganda program these days. They got Mike Benz out there on the Joe Rogan show. They convinced all the MAGA people that there was a Biden censorship regime, which was not really true. The claims of the Twitter files were totally inflated, all this kind of thing. Mark Zuckerberg told a fake story. He told a lie about, by when you decontextualize something, I believe that is a lie. He told a lie about some Biden official calling up and chewing out the Facebook people or the Meta people because of an Instagram situation. And that had nothing to do with them not saying or doing the right thing. It had everything to do with people couldn't follow the president's account or something. And they wanted the president to be able to be followed on social media. So a 2016 study evaluated claims of a secret large-scale atmospheric program, commonly referred to as chemtrails or covert geoengineering. The authors from Carnegie Science, University of California, Irvine, and the nonprofit organization Near Zero surveyed atmospheric chemists who specialize in condensation trails and geochemists. 76 of the 77 participating scientists agreed that evidence presented to support claims that atmospheric spraying occurs can be explained through other factors, including typical airplane contrail formation and poor data sampling. Contrails, short for condensation trails, are line-shaped clouds, sometimes produced by aircraft engine exhaust. So there's Jim Breuer's going, they turn it off and they turn it on. Well, maybe the exhaust is just not happening for a second. In fact, not maybe, that is what's happening. Yes, and. So for those who are joining right now, yes, we're talking about chemtrails. Why? Because we just watched this video of Jim Breuer, a formerly famous and still somewhat famous comedian, especially on the MAGA right, who is spreading disinformation about chemtrails. And so what we do here is we debunk disinformation because we are information nutritionists and fact warriors. And every single time we're on social media, we spread fact-based information that aligns with small d democratic values. It is literally the only way we're going to get out of this. Our situation is the result of information. Our situation as a globe and the rise of global authoritarianism is a result of information. 99% of what we know about the world is told to us by a stranger. And so what do we do in the face of that? We have to seek out the fact-based, in the public interest journalism enterprises and support the wahoozy out of them. Because in response to fact-based journalism, there has been a 60-year program by the right in America to undermine faith and trust in journalism. But journalism is the bedrock of democracy, enshrined into the Constitution as the only protected form of profession in the Constitution, the free press. That's right. And the founding fathers said popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is prelude to a farce, tragedy, or worse. So we all need to be upping our information game. GS for now. Okay. I don't know what you're clarifying, but we appreciate you. And welcome, Meredith. Meredith, what are your sources of information? How are you going to be a fact warrior today? How will you lift someone up and tell them that you love them? Does anybody want to talk about their fears? That's another thing we do. This religion was based on the tenets of quality improvisational comedy because improvisers learn to have a better relationship with fear at all times. And so we talk about our energy, support, commitment, giving, connection, and gratitude in this space. So if you would like to join live and talk, about your sources of information, we had a wonderful talk with Emma the other day about what did we talk about? We talked about ground news, and Rev Deuce revealed truth to the people from Mount Deuce, from Mount Adeusis. Rev Deuce handed down the manna of information about how the ground news is built on a conceit that undermines our understanding of what it means to have left and right information in this world currently, right? We do not really have a left-wing or liberal media in this country. Sure, many people who work in journalism may vote for Democrats, but that does not mean that they are in charge at their news organizations, right? It matters about ownership of organizations, and it matters what the narratives and agendas are of those media outlets. And we have a mainstream commercialized system for informing the public that in its main imperative is profit, and it is profit seeking. And so that leads to a press and a system for informing the public that does not adequately warn the public of dangers to it, right? Donald Trump has been normalized, even as he has lied about elections, even as he has been proven to be someone who is sexually abusive, right? He has been normalized by a mainstream press that wants as many people to read their newspapers and pay and so that they can go to advertisers and say, look how many people are reading this. We ran 90 interviews with Trump supporters, so we still have Trump supporters who read our thing, even though they're being told that we are the enemy of the people. Well, I like chips. It's the name of two it's the name of two parties, right? We have the GOP, the grand old party, the Republican Party. formed in the late 1800s, 1850s. I don't know when they were formed in Ohio, I think, right, as an abolitionist party, right? And then we have the Democratic Party, which was formed a long time ago. At one point, we had the Whigs in this country, right? At one point, we had the Know-Nothings in this country. And boy, oh boy, howdy, does it feel like we have that again today. But, okay, I like chips. What does that mean? There is one party that is still, although flawed, traditional and adhering to the reality that we want democracy, right? The Republican Party, the MAGA Republicans lied. Did you sneak a look? The Republican Party lied about elections and then passed hundreds of voter suppression bills across the country. There is only one party introducing legislation to end Citizens United, right? Citizens United is an anti-democratic ruling by the Supreme Court saying that money is equal to speech, which then gives, the wealthiest of our fellow citizens an outsized ability to influence our system of government. Okay, so, I guess I hear what you're saying. I like chips, and we love people's ideas in the tub. We support all people's ideas, and we try to agree across ideas that we might not necessarily agree with and commit to the ideas of others, just as the improviser does. But I cannot 100% commit to the idea that there isn't a party that is at least nominally fighting for democracy and is at least... right? Like different types of politicians get elected to the Democratic Party. And increasingly what's happened since the 1960s is that only one type of politician is allowed in the Republican Party. And we are seeing a hyper concentration of that pushing out of anyone but extremists. It's something that also happened with the Southern Baptists as well. They pushed out like progressive or moderate pastors. And now it's only extremist pastors. And we can read about that in books like Shadow Network and, all kinds of different books that chronicle that. Wow, we really love GS for Now. Well, GS for Now, you could cash at me like $50 every month if you wanted to. That would be great. I would love that. I encourage you to support me monetarily in any of the ways that currently exist. And I know it's not on the screen, but you can cash at me at Follow the Fear, and you can Venmo me at Follow the Fear. I just created those, and I can't believe I can't believe Steve Ling, if Dan Wrights knows, I can't believe Steve Ling didn't change his Venmos to Follow the Fear. But anyway, you could get in touch with me. I have the logos for Public Enlightenment there, so it's me.
They're releasing the president's fitness plan. He actually looks healthier than ever before. Healthier than he did 8 years ago, and I'm sure
I'm so sorry to do that to all of you. Now, okay, what are we doing? It's 10:30. We're reading the news with Deuce. Now, GS, I'm going to tell GS, since you are like so fired up right now, I want to talk to you about some of the things that we have created here. So if you go to publicenlightenment.com, which is how you access this space, obviously. I mean, are we kidding my daddy? So I write articles that you can share, so that you can be a fact warrior every single time that you are online. So 4 websites to find peaceful protests, 6 fact-based influencers you can repost now to spread the zone with facts. To MAGA with love, the disinformation is coming from the right. Now, I wrote that and it was not that popular. The context, I like to provide these context ones. So Dems cozy up to Palantir as Peter Thiel nears his goal of tech dictatorship. Context, the crypto lie. These guys are consolidating power and stealing your money. So you can go and spread that stuff all the way around at all times, right? You can spread this information of where to find national news that tells us what's really going on. And so I want to tell you a little bit about where to find national news that tells us what's really going on. And then, you know what, GS for Now, we could sing a song. I could improvise a song because that's another thing that we do here. And we like to have fun. Or we could do the MAGA congressman game. We could do so much stuff, but okay, let me go through. So this is the news. So what I did is I created lists, okay? So check this out. You see right here, it says lists over here in the corner. They're trying not to have you see it. But okay, GS for Now. So you can go to publicenlightenment.com on Blue Sky, okay? You click on lists, and then you get fact checkers. I like chips, of course, absolutely. 50% of Americans read at a 6th grade level or below. So yeah, we need people to start reading. Am I right? And so what we're doing here too, and why we talk about social media so often, is because we see the trends. We understand what's happening in society. We understand that fewer and fewer people are going to read, right? Fewer and fewer people are going to consult news. 6 in 10 Americans, this is an old stat too, I bet it's even higher. 6 in 10 Americans who share a piece of news on social media do so only after reading the headline. Okay, so we need to up our integrity with information. That is the way. So GS for now. What does that stand for? GS for now. Let's see. Good socks for now until they get holes in them. Great satay for now until it gets moldy and we haven't eaten it, or we leave it in the fridge too long. Okay, who else has everyone peed next to? Has anyone else peed next to anyone famous? I could tell you about who I used to wait on when I waited at tables in New York City. One time I waited on Ricky Henderson, and it was so interesting because Ricky Henderson wanted to fight me because he thought that I was calling him dumb by explaining the dishes on the menu. And now we love Ricky Henderson, and he was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And he had beautiful daughters who had a, talking about education. They seemed very on the ball, and they stopped their dad from fighting me. This is a true story that happened to me. Ricky Henderson was like, basically I explained some word on the menu that he asked me what it was. And then he was like, are you making fun of me? And I was like, no, of course not, Ricky Henderson. So I didn't pee next to Ricky Henderson, but he thought I was calling him dumb. I'll remember it like it was yesterday. Table 33, Maloney and Porcelli in Midtown Manhattan. Oh man, table 33. It was tough to work on that table because you had to reach. It was a circular table seating for 6. Okay. We are so digressing so hard. So fact checkers, diverse opinion, historians. So let's go through the news and let's get some context on the news. That's what Deuce wants to do right now while he's got everybody in here. And how are who do you root for, Dan? The Blue Jays? Who's your team? The Mets? I guess it's the Mets, right? It takes mental effort and people are afraid of effort. Yeah, Mets mostly. So I wonder how they're doing. I'm a huge O's fan, and one of my best friends is moving 45 minutes away from Camden Yards to a mansion that was built by the inventor of shredded wheat. So I'm excited. Yeah, I think we kind of kicked the Jays' ass a little bit, or it was even. But we're playing them right now. No, who are we playing? Oh boy, I'm so focused. Okay, so the president firing the 2 Democratic FTC officials was like a 40-second news cycle. Okay, so we finally so people talk again about how there's a uniparty, and again, that is part of a Iranian and Russian and Chinese and domestic disinformation campaign. Of course, you're allowed to feel however you want about the 2 parties in this country, but we had a functioning FTC. Lena Khan was doing some pretty incredible stuff on behalf of all of us at the Federal Trade Commission. Usually our organizations like the Federal Trade Commission, like the FCC, suffer from regulatory capture. But Lena Khan was a once in a generation, it would seem, based on the way that our corporate capitalist government works normally, where there's a revolving door and captured agencies by the same businesses that they're meant to regulate. We had a functioning FTC that was eliminating, what was it called? What were they called? Non-compete clauses, right? Which was like keeping many, many Americans trapped. It was something like 1 in 5 Americans were under like a non-compete clause. And if you want to talk about a free market and people's ability to go strike out and start their own businesses, if you work at a company and you have this overwrought non-compete clause and you can't start a business without stealing intellectual property, but you just can't even start any kind of business that is in any way associated with the industry that you have expertise in, and you want to be a small business owner in this country, which I know lots of people talk about being the lifeblood, that kind of a thing. Well, guess what? The FTC was pushing back against that and doing all kinds of good stuff, protecting us from, predatory companies and their ability to, charge us fees that we don't like, And so, boom, that's it. Carl Bode telling us about the 2 Democratic FTC officials are out. Okay? So they're just going to serve industry and serve corporations now, fully. The oligarchs won't tell Trump how much chaos he's unleashed, and they don't even know how chaos is affecting average people. The oligarchy is almost as incompetent and out of touch as Trump himself, says Robert Reich. President Zelensky and crooked Joe Biden did an absolutely horrible job in allowing this travesty to begin, says Donald Trump. That is disinformation and propaganda from Donald Trump. Okay, Justin Barogna with some hardcore language about victim shaming. But so yeah, this is Kremlin propaganda coming from the President of the United States. My big fear with this episode is that El Salvador will send this one guy back, people will celebrate, the markets will rise, pundits will praise Trump as a reasonable leader, and the media will declare the topic over, aiming to quickly move on. So what we're navigating here in the mega tub of joy, in the mega church of joy, is like, what does it mean to consult information, and what does the discourse mean anymore? You know, so many Americans are plugged into the faux alternative fact reality that's being created for them. And then like this guy's kind of talking about like a world that's like existing less and less, right? We know that 40% of people under the age of 30 get their news from social media influencers, right? And so this guy's kind of talking about what I believe is a bygone era that we are entering. That this is going to be in the past, where pundits will praise Trump as a reasonable leader. He's talking about mainstream, like CNN pundits and like, New York Times pundits and stuff like that. And I don't disbelieve that is what will happen. But what I'm saying is, like, what influence do they still have? And where are we fighting, on the front of the information war for all of our minds? And I think we're fighting that fight on social media ever more. And so, yes, pundits will praise Trump. Obviously, the right-wing ones will, no matter what. But is it like, does it matter what's said on the Sunday shows anymore? Does it matter what's said in the pages of the New York Times? To some degree, yes, it does, because that is a tastemaker for the mainstream, right? We saw after the election was over, we saw some Democratic consultants, right? Consultants for the Democratic Party who were talking about how we should just abandon trans people because, instead of just making a case for why human rights are important, and just like using all their money that they're paid to just like say like these are people, and also like pointing out the right-wing disinformation and propaganda operation, which is what you should do. And then those ideas are carried in the op-ed section of the New York Times and on the CNNs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yes, could we take a moment to just say that we are grateful for everyone who's been in the chat today. We're grateful for GS for now. We are grateful for I Like Chips. I Like Chips. We want you to keep coming back. We want you to engage with this community. We want you to get into the Discord. This is a space where we learn about the world and we contextualize the news so that we can understand what's going on in the world before it's too late. You know what I mean? So we understand that there is a global rise in authoritarianism. We understand that they are using the means of communication to divide us and spread disinformation and cynicism. We understand that we should be like functioning by reading the experts who have been getting it right, reading the experts who are not, paid for by the right-wing think tanks, right? Like reading the experts and scientists and pundits who have consistently shared that they are fact-based. Can we link the Discord somewhere? Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't think Lilith is here, but that's interesting. Maybe we just put a link to the Discord in the link tree. Would that have helped you, Knee Blockade? Link to Discord. At first, we weren't sure what we should do with the Discord in terms of like protecting it. But I think that we could do that. Well, I could put that I'm going to put that in the link tree, so that'll be up there by the end of the day. Now, we're getting all over the place. The show isn't really going the way I want it to, in a sense, because I do want MAGA people to call in, but I got a late start, and I'm trying to use this new program today. Hell yeah, Knee Blockade. And so I also need to be more active. We've got a few people who are active in the Discord, but what we're going to do there is we're going to screen movies there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to commit to setting up a movie screening, okay? And we're going to all have a good time doing a movie screening. Maybe that's going to be 10 of us. Maybe that's going to be 100 of us. But we're going to do that in the Discord. And I will finish this article on Charlie Kirk. I'll tell you what's hard is that you're trying to get it right. And I believe so much in being correct with my information that it's hard sometimes to write when you're writing about like a disinformation pundit. But boy, howdy, there's like so much. I mean, Talking Points USA and Charlie Kirk is obviously a right-wing astroturf. Let's talk about what our fellow Americans are seeing online. What is this? What's this one?
We're good, Parker. Thank you. You don't want it to be later? No, we're good. I got others. You don't go to school here. No, and then like later, a different day on the podcast.
So this is just content, right, that Charlie Kirk creates. And he travels the country with billionaires. You know, that's the wildest part about the Charlie Kirk thing. Charlie Kirk travels the country. Yeah, knee blockade. I know it's weird. My fiance and I, we reviewed it the other day. We went through it. And, you know, I have to be putting up videos that get like engagement. I have to be putting up videos that get people to watch longer. So we're trying to like figure out how I can share some videos like that. And I don't know if it's short videos or if it's long videos. Long videos take way longer to produce and create. You know, I can fire off like a 3-minute and under video, but it's like, how do I get people to watch those? And then that's, I think, part of the algorithm. Of course, in terms of lives, what helps is you all talking as much as possible in the chat and liking it and subscribing it and following it, right? That's what helps me. Well, GS, maybe you can help me with all this technology that I'm dealing with. So GS wrote in the Substack chat that their nickname they started using when they were working 100-hour work weeks at Sun Microsystems, and they were doing senior technical support engineer, helping people. Okay, well, we need your help, that's for sure. I'm so bad at so much of this stuff, and I don't know why my green screen looks so bad. Okay, so does anybody want to talk about their fear for the last 10 minutes of the show? Because Rev Deuce has a job at 11. Isn't that fun? Rev Deuce finally getting some work. You know what I mean? That's exciting. But so he doesn't want to mess that up. Now let's, so if someone wants to join live and talk about their fear, we would love that. I believe I tried to make a collection. Now, where do you find collections? Tag, new collection. How do you make an old collection? Stinks, man. New collection. I did one of Charlie Kirk. And I know that's not fun. We don't want to do a collection of Charlie Kirk, but maybe that was on TikTok. Actually, I think that was on TikTok. But we've been observing what Charlie Kirk does, right? So they go places and they, you know, find an interview with someone who they know will like trigger their audience. And then they share that.
Charlie Kirk being on your campus today?
To be honest, not really a fan. I don't agree with him, TBH.
What would you say is the biggest thing you don't agree with him on?
He seems a little transphobic, I'm not gonna lie.
What is the most transphobic thing you've heard him say?
I couldn't tell you.
What do you think about...
So they clip that. I mean, I could tell you the most transphobic things that he says, and we could look it up, but this is just like a random person on their campus who understands they don't want to spend their life like researching Charlie Kirk, and they just know they've seen one thing that he said where he said transgenderism is an ideology or something like that, right? Meanwhile, trans people just exist and always have. And, you know, like the science behind it, right? It's just like phenotypic expression, is it not? Or what is it? You go now, it's some kind of, it's just a thing that happens to some of us, just in that some of us come out and we are not trans. You know what I mean? And it's being turned into this big giant thing. Yes, in fact, GS, I have appeared on the Thom Hartmann show. Thom Hartmann does great work. I've appeared in my role as a co-founder of the Media Democracy Project ahead of the 2024 election in October. I was a guest on the Thom Hartmann show. It went really fast. It was one of my, more professional media appearances, and it was intense. You just join, and then you're being asked questions right away. And I was talking in my role as an expert, as a co-founder of the Media Democracy Project, and I was talking about Project 2025 and what it had to say about the FCC, specifically about transgender folks. What Project 2025 said about transgender folks was that like they were going to basically equate it to pornography and try to like basically eliminate like transgender people, at least through language. And then you could see the seeds for them trying to make it almost illegal to like express yourself as transgender in this country. So I like chips. I would love it if you could get into the Discord maybe and talk to us about that right now, except that I do have to go in 6 minutes. Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing is like, I think a lot of these kids don't understand that Charlie Kirk doesn't necessarily have like a grasp on a lot of these issues. But what Charlie Kirk does is he's constantly preparing for a debate, right? Since 2012, he has been figuring out like which rhetorical devices and what ways to attack the left. That is literally what he is paid to do, right? By, you know, right-wing free market billionaires with a history of racism. You know, in the 2010s, there was tons of racism going on inside the organization. And now Charlie Kirk has created something called Blexit, which is, you know, a way to like say like, look, I hire a few black people to do this propaganda thing. So I can't be racist. But there is such a wealth of racism. And of course, what Charlie Kirk chooses to talk about, to downplay the history of racism in this country, to downplay the impacts of racism in this country. It is all part of a program to divide. And so that's what's going on. Okay, now let's look into what was I going to do? Okay, TikTok. And so look, we're being driven kind of by the chat today. I've had countless people trying to convince me why biology is false and why their emotions is more important as a source of evidence. Well, so, okay, I can provide countless sources and back up all my claims with scientific evidence, but I never get anything back besides emotion-based evidence. This is very dangerous. So I like chips. We believe here in the tub. I mean, we know that scientifically cis people exist and trans people exist. We know that certain aspects of gender are constructs, right? Like that, like, you know, if you wear this hat or if you wear these clothes, that means that you're this or that, right? Like that doesn't necessarily have to be true. That's a cultural thing. That's not necessarily like a science-based thing. So I like chips. We love everyone's ideas. And so we are interested to hear what you have to say further. I do have to gently push back because when we start to just go towards the idea that certain people who exist, you know, don't necessarily exist, but you're kind of saying something else. I'm not really sure what you're saying, and we're running out of time, and David would like to join. So David, why don't you call in and we'll talk about your fear for just like 5 minutes, okay? Let's do that. I was going to show you some, how do I find my collections? How do I find my collections, my things? Where are my things? I don't know how to find them. Ugh, annoying. All right, we're live with David.
Hi, Deuce.
Hi, David. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is working. This Google Voice number is working. It's so exciting.
Yes, yeah. Please let me know if I need to speak louder or more clearly.
I think you sound freaking great. So what's up?
I'm afraid, Deuce, that you're going to keep teasing me with this Charlie Kirk article, and I'm never going to get it because I'm fiending for it.
Okay, look, you know what? We respond in real time to our audience. So we're going to go so far behind the scenes that we are going to show you. Now, I'm not afraid. You can see how many subscribers I have. It's only 1,000. I need 50 million. Okay, so look, it's almost too long for email. It's already too long for email, David, okay? Now look, here we go. Now look, we got AstroTurf, and I'm pouring my heart and soul into this. The reality of right-wing propaganda ecosystem is made clear in books like Nicole Hemmer's Messengers of the Right. All this great stuff. Unnatural Reach. Charlie has over 3 million YouTube subscribers. Blah, 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 blah. Look, here he is sitting next to a billionaire, and look at the irony. Without any irony, you're being brainwashed tour. It is literally a tour to brainwash people, and we believe deeply that everyone's doing the best they can with what they have, including our friend S-Bub, who inspired this article to be written in the first place. But we got to tell you that, hey, college kids, you are being brainwashed by a 31-year-old Charlie Kirk on behalf of billionaires. And then I put this funny picture in there. And so we are creating this for sure. But what happened is, now I'll show you how it all works, my dude. I started doing this research and I was getting some good stuff from this place. and then I go to another place and I get better research and it's like clearer and simpler and faster. But so we're outlining, so I'm just been doing tons of research, and it gets too much. But so we're showing how it's like a network, right? Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson, Donald Trump Jr., Lara Trump, right? All these people are part of it. Going back to like the mid-2000 teens, he's been a part of it for a while. But so then I also am including that, like, how do you like get him, so all this stuff, all this reporting, and it's pretty messy right now. But like, is he racist or not, right? When was this? 2017. The best grift in America is convincing rich old man conservatives to give you their money so you can reach young people with a rich old man message. Okay, this is someone saying this in 2017. And then Turning Point says the best grift this morning is having a guy named Weinstein criticize young people for wanting fewer hands in their pockets. Too good. Now, who wrote that message and who approved it? Charlie Kirk? And it's never been taken down. So that's bigotry. Okay. Now, there was a young woman who worked there and she said, I hate black people, like fuck them all. And then a really weird thing is that then Ginny Thomas, whose husband is black, hired this young lady. Really crazy shit. Ginny Thomas has been an advisor for Turning Point USA. The conspiracy theories and all that stuff is out of control. This is not a normal grassroots organization. This is a propaganda effort, right? Loons on left obsessed with Musk. This is literally just propaganda. Right? Like you don't, and look, they don't see this on CNN. So David, I'm just going off.
Yes, no, and yes, and thank you. And I'm very grateful because that does alleviate my fear to hear the research and to know it's longer than an email. It's going to give me something really good to chew on, and I'm grateful and I'm thankful for that. And then of course, as soon as that fear is gone, a new fear replaces it. It's exactly the cycle.
Absolutely. So, David, thank you. I want to talk to I Like Chips for a second because I Like Chips is saying, does your platform cover the brainwashing and propaganda from the leftists? And so in the time that we have left, it would be so great if I could talk to you live, I Like Chips, because I do have to go in like 5 minutes. But I Like Chips. What do you mean? So, David, where does the propaganda come from the leftists? Where is it? Where does it come from on the breadth and strength of on par with the hundreds of think tanks that have been created over the last 60 years by right-wing billionaires, the like multiple quote unquote news organizations, right? Just entertainment channels, RSBN, One Real News, One American Network. Where does it come from, David?
On the left side, on the side of the left?
Yeah.
Because, we've clearly covered the right. And I'm just not too sure because I have difficulty doing the research into it. Like I was looking at the Latin Times, some of the articles that they had written, so I kind of tried to do a diver into their media, like who owns, I think the name of the company is like Palermo News, and it just wasn't clear for me. Obviously, I don't have the same background you do, but there is the crooked media with John Favreau and all of them who came directly from the Obama administration and then are building this media ecosystem in and of themselves, but I don't know if they're astroturf, if it's grassroots or anything like that. So I do identify that there are very far left media sources, but are they equivalent to the right? I would disagree with, but you do have to acknowledge like there is, just like when we were talking about, or when Chips was speaking on communist versus fascism and how they're both kind of looking to consolidate power, the pushback would be not all of them, obviously, but there is groups or people who are looking to take advantage on either side.
Yeah,
so I'm just not sure where they would be.
Totally. I mean, so are you saying the crooked media is far left, though? Is that what you're saying?
I would say politically for America's political climate, which I disagree with. I think, most, like we were talking about Ground News and how they had put those who were funded by the right on the center line. I would say that that's kind of reflective of American politics, although it shouldn't be. That the extreme far right and most progressive left positions would be considered centrist positions anywhere else, if not right-leaning.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to push back against any conception that, like something like, I'm grateful for your ideas, David, and I love you, and I'm also working with like a 2-minute, I have to get out of here. But so, David, I'm going to thank you for being here, and I'm going to hang up on you, and I love you, and I'm so grateful for you. And then I'm going to quickly address that, and then we're going to have to say goodbye, and then maybe I'll come back later.
And.
Okay, yes, and.
Thank you, yes,
okay,
and.
Thank you. So the deal is, here's the deal. The deal is that crooked media, those are Obama guys, okay? Obama was like a #1 deporter in chief, right? Like all this stuff, like Obama as a U.S. president, he killed innocent people from drone strikes. Like, all this kind of stuff goes on, right? American imperialism, like a lot of Obama's hope and change and all that stuff. Like, yeah, there was like a successful by the skin of their teeth defense of the Affordable Care Act. But in general, we shouldn't be huge fans of any presidents or whatever. The crooked media guys are fact-based. So you can say that having as much opinion or whatever, they have shows where they talk back and forth, but they are based in fact. Benny Johnson is not based in fact. Tim Pool is not based in fact. Those people are spreading propaganda by decontextualizing facts, right? So I'm not a huge crooked media guy, but there's nothing equivalent on the left. So I like Chips. We would love to find out from you what you mean by there being that you're saying you're speaking from a European perspective. I just want to see it. So I pulled up this article, but I haven't had time to read it. CEO, an internet advertisement that was recently commissioned by CBS to investigate who is reading and sharing fake news online. His company did this by initially putting out 2 fake news stories, one from the left. They put out fake news stories. I think that's kind of weird. And the other from a right-wing website, also false claims that were congressional plot to oust Donald Trump. By using specialist software, the company's researchers that have followed readers' online behavior to get an idea of who they are. Knee blockade, what does that mean? On the left, I wouldn't say it's equivalent at all. No, it's not. It's just not. It's just not. There is no apparatus. There's a purpose-built structure, a purpose-built scaffolding and system on the right. Look up States Policy Network, okay? It's a network of hundreds of think tanks in each state across our country, right? Created by the U'Lines, the Scaife, the Bradleys, the Kochs, right? The Mercers, right? These families that are the Soroses, right? They create, and they're like, well, people are probably going to figure out what we're doing. We should come up with a boogeyman on the left, So I don't have time to read this. But what are they talking? They're not even there. I can't find anything. Okay. I got to go, everybody. I have to do this job. Maybe I'll come back later. I love you so much. I got to go. It was a weird show today, but I think we had a great time, and so that's beautiful. And we got some new followers. We got some new friends. GS is saying, we'll get you to 50 million fans eventually. Is this my mom? Hey, Rose Tony, we'll get you to 50 million fans eventually as an intuitive empath, among other things. I totally rock your vibe. What does that mean? I believe you're one of a vast cohort of what I'm, for many years, always referred to as the children of the future. Okay, GS, holy bajolies. We got to get you to come on live one day. You are away with words. Okay, so we love you, everybody. Follow the fear. How will you spread fact-based information that aligns with small d democratic values today? That's great. I like Chips. I love that. Because one thing we can agree on is how French fries are delicious. I like to dip mine in mayo. Okay, I got to go. I like Chips. We want to see you back here in this space. Have you followed? Why don't you give me a follow over there on the Twitch? That would be incredible and help me. And, tell people about this show because we want to talk to everybody about information, okay? The only bias here is towards facts and democracy. And that's it. And, I'm going to disagree with you about political stuff, but as long as we're operating from the same fact-based sources of information and we're pushing facts and uplifting facts and talking about what's propaganda, what's not propaganda, we're